Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. When it comes to the video games, I haven't played them myself personally, but seeing reactions videos of people playing them, it does seem like a game that's built on tension and trying to stop the mascots or the puppets trying to sort of get you. It's a pretty interesting game, and it's always good to see reaction videos to them, back in the days. But this is the first time I've really seen a movie come out of it. I don't know whether they did it before, but it's pretty interesting to see what they could really make out of it. So, kind of knowing that they're making a movie, does this movie live up to the hype of the video games? And I think my answer to that, from my perspective, is it hasn't. It's nowhere near a bad movie by any stretch, but I don't think I can even call it a good film. It just sits on this being a very safe film that you're not gonna really sort of feel like you've actually seen something very special or new. I think it does everything it says for what the video games is based on, but I think trying to make these video game adaptations to a movie, it kind of doesn't really build any sort of sense of a story very well. I mean, it does. I know this movie doesn't really need to build a story if it's based on the games, but I think it just kind of sits pretty flat throughout in terms of how it develops. So I think overall, if I had to kind of point out with this film, it sits in this very sort of mid-level. Now, I kind of want to talk about the positives that I actually enjoyed about this movie. Firstly, I do think that this movie does replicate the lore and atmosphere of the video games pretty well, and they do try to make a very accurate adaptation from it. And I think really that's a good thing that they've done. I really do like the fact that they kind of stick true to that and make sure that really, fans of the video games or people who love reacting to the video games would really love to see in this movie. And I think that's one thing they've done very well. There are times where this movie does kind of have very satirical moments when it comes to some aspects of horror. I don't want to kind of spoil the scenes in any way because it wouldn't really be fair on you guys watching it. But there are some, what I'll describe, very provocative scenes, and it does shock you to the extent that you would actually enjoy it. And I think those are really like some of the positives that I could really draw from this movie. But when it comes to the other aspects of this film, and this is where I think the problems lie, one of the major problems I do find with this movie is it's not really scary. I don't really feel this movie builds tension well when it comes to jump scares. Sometimes when this movie does try and build the jump scares, there's no sense of tension happening. Sometimes it will just be a normal scene with no tension or any sort of atmosphere, and it would just immediately just have a massive crescendo where a jump scare was supposed to happen. And I think for me, it just felt it was not really meant to be anticipated very well. So I think at times when it comes to the jump scares in this movie, it doesn't build the tension as well as it could and make it as scary as it can. I think with some scenes they do try, but I felt for me it was a bit underwhelming. Also, one thing I do like to sort of talk about this movie, I don't really want to take it so much as a serious point, but I do think the plot is very thin and the story. So I think at times it can't really make so much sense of some of the story and some of the scenes that this movie plays off, or how some of the scenes transition to other parts of the film very well. So, one of the main characters, Mike, who basically works at this Freddy's pizza place. I can't remember the full name, but there are times where he would go through some sort of scenes of where he would be dreaming or in a deep sleep, and I never really felt that any of it made any sense to me. It was pretty much just there just for whatever reason, and there will be like the scene where there will be kids there. that he's trying to sort of get, try and get some answers to, which none of it made much sense, to be fair. And there are like times where I think like some character dialogue and interactions just didn't really sort of, they weren't really as well written as I would have thought it would be. So there are kind of level hits of criticism I could point to this film in terms of his writing, but then I could also credit this movie for trying to stay true to his adaptation. Also, another thing I want to point out as well, I think this movie itself only had like a $25 million budget, which kind of surprised me. And I think they do make the movie actually, pretty much make the movie, the scenes and everything pretty well. Basically put it into the sort of comparisons of movies that would have cost $100 million, which was pretty impressive. I mean, nowadays you look at a budget of $25 million now, it does feel very, very low for a theatrical release. So I think that's really impressive that they were able to try and, make the quality of that movie with respect to the budget that it had to actually make it the film it was. So that is some lots of credit that I could really give to this movie. But yeah, overall, if I would react to this movie overall, I would say this movie is very mixed. I think for people who are very much a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's video games, I think will like this film. But maybe some who are kind of like horror enthusiasts as well really like to build tension and atmosphere. Sometimes this movie does fall short from that. I don't know whether this movie's aim was to really be a horror movie, but it didn't really build that tension as well as I would have think it would have. And some jump scares just didn't work for me personally. So I think those are some of the aspects I do feel were very disappointing. So I think really you would have a very mixed reaction when it comes to this movie. So overall, if I have to rate Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm probably going to have to give it a 5 out of 10. Again, it's just a very, very mixed movie. I think a lot of people will like the movie, its adaptation, and how true it sticks to the video games. But I think if you're like a real horror enthusiast and you really want to, feel the tension and the jump scares happening, I don't think this movie really hits it. So, yeah. So that's my reaction to watching this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And let me know what you think about it. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.